Welcome back to PRJX podcast. Today we have two special guests. We're going to talk about chocolate, but not any ordinary chocolate. Chocolate all the way from Ecuador. So we welcome Sara and Andre today with us.
Thank you.
Hey guys.
Tell us all about the intriguing story and the amazing story.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us here. It's a real
Thank you.
pleasure.
No problem.
So why Ecuador chocolate as opposed to any other form of chocolate? You specialize in that kind of Ecuador.
Right. What we do is, because I'm from Ecuador, originally from Ecuador.
Okay.
Before I moved to the UK. I knew that, growing up, Ecuadorian cocoa beans that we use to make our chocolate is one of the best in the world. So.
Is that like a known fact?
Yeah, it's a known fact. Yeah. It's actually.
Out of all the cacao production in the world,
54% of the fine flavor cacao produced in the world comes from Ecuador, and that only accounts to 1% of the world's total cocoa bean production. So Ecuador is actually the leading producer of fine flavor cacao, which is what is used to make a chocolate bar or chocolate confection. So we wanted to work with a community where I'm from, and we wanted to be able to work face to face with farmers that grow this variety of cocoa beans.
Yeah.
That's the main reason why we chose Ecuadorian cocoa beans. Yeah.
Is it more like, is Ecuador better than, like, I know, I'm not really known in the cocoa industry, but I know like Ivory Coast are really good, like I don't know if you know the Ivory Coast and some other places in Africa as well.
Yeah, West Africa. Yeah, it's
very well known there.
Yeah, there is a big difference in terms of the type of cocoa bean variety. So West Africa it's one of the largest producer in the world of cocoa beans, but this is commodity bulk chocolate. This is stuff that you find in the supermarkets. So they need to produce something very kind of standard, very non-wild, very average to produce average chocolate. But it has to be a consistent and a very reliable source of cocoa beans. And that's why they use a variety which is a hybrid variety, which is lower quality, but it produces a lot more and is very resistant to pests. So West Africa, leading producer of cocoa beans, but not necessarily the best in terms of flavor or.
So cacao grows in the tropics, and it is believed that it originated in Ecuador. So that's its birthplace. And the fine flavor cacao, there's a few other varieties around the world that have it. But African cocoa beans are more on the bulk.
Supermarket type of chocolate, used for the supermarket chocolate,
Okay, so is that kind of the main like retail point for you, or is it very like kind of private on online websites like Pure Play? Is that how you sell your chocolate, or through supermarkets do you get to have you like negotiate to be able to sell it through?
No, I don't think we're so small at the moment. I mean, we're a very small production workshop that we have in Penryn, and we just actually sell through coffee shops mainly and zero-waste shops.
Yeah.
And we haven't actually spoken to any supermarkets yet, because I think what they're actually after really low prices and high margins for them and very big quantities. So for us, it's not the right type of market approach, at least not for now. So what we do is sell on our website and through shops that are willing to pay a premium for a chocolate bar that it has full transparency and everyone knows where it comes from, how the farmers have been paid, and how the chocolate has been processed, and how it's been, everything, every step of the way has been actually taken care of, and it's actually rewarding the farmers for giving them dignity for what they do, because cacao farmers are one of the poorest farmers in the world. So I think they make only like $3 a day.
Wow.
And that's because the big distributors and big cocoa buyers will buy at a really low price.
But the question is, like, why Cornwall? Like, you have London, you have Paris, you have other big cities, or like England's huge, but why Cornwall? Like, for us, it was a mistake for us sometimes to come to Cornwall. For our year group, most of us, it's like, why Cornwall? We come here, like, if you ask our year group, most of us in our course, they'd be like, we applied to main campus, but then we came to Cornwall. It's a very sad tragedy, you know?
Noah's ratting us out right now.
No, but this is the tragedy, you know? And then, like, what we just agree with it, but like, what made you what's famous about Cornwall? Is there a chocolate industry here growing in Cornwall? Is this something?
No. I came to university many years ago to Falmouth
Really?
and fell in love with the place.
Wow.
And we lived in London for over 18 years. And when we decided to quit the fast-paced life, Cornwall was the first option.
Yeah, it's a foodie place. You have the sea. Yes, it rains, but I mean...
You have a great community of people. People really support each other and businesses as well.
Yeah.
So it's, for us, it has been a great place to start. Yeah.
Has there been a lot of support down
Yeah.
here
From
then
the
for your
community,
chocolate?
Yeah.
Great support. People appreciate provenance. They appreciate premium products. They appreciate fair trade stuff. So they get behind you and they encourage you.
And people are into relationships. Down here you have the time to actually talk to people and do life with people. And I think that gives you a chance to share your life and whatever you're doing with people around you. So that creates a really good support network.
Yeah, and when you have that kind of support network around you, you learn from everyone. Because we understand that we're not experts. When we started this almost 4 years ago, we didn't know anything about making chocolate.
We thought it was very easy and straightforward.
So how difficult can it be making chocolate? We buy the beans and we start. But yeah, we started checking stuff online, YouTube videos, and reading a lot of blogs and books. But then you have people around you that are willing to taste your first batches of chocolate, which
A lot
are
of people willing to taste it.
yeah, but the first time that we made chocolate, wow, it wasn't great.
But we find out now, like our friends tell us, like, oh, I remember the first batch, those first tastings. They were, you've come a long way. And then you wonder,
now they tell us that, yeah. But no, it's great that kind of a support group or community network. We can only find it for us here in Cornwall, because it's a different pace of life altogether from London or a bigger city like Paris or anywhere else that is more into kind of fine chocolate. But we wouldn't have been able to learn so much at a pace that is very comfortable for us.
And build relationships. For us, that's a very important part of what we do.
Yeah.
Of course.
We like people. And doing things with people, it's a hard journey, and when you're down and you see, why am I doing this? You have people that believe in you and support you, and that's great. And it's not just about the chocolate, it's not the end product, but that journey that we have with people, with our community here, and what we're doing with the farmers back in Ecuador. So it's been a good ride.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm kind of curious in is the way you kind of started up the company in general. So did it begin as a vision where you wanted to make chocolate for consumers, or was this just a hobby to start out? And you said in the way you educated yourself, there was a lot of YouTube tutorials and whatnot. And I imagine within that there's a lot of trial and error, and I can imagine that's also quite costly as well. So where did this kind of inspiration come from to make chocolate, and why did you end up pursuing it in the end?
We always wanted to work with communities back at home. We didn't know how that was going to look like. We thought permaculture, school, something. But then we got married in the rainforest in Ecuador, and when we were there, the local people showed us how they made chocolate. The very rustic way, frying in a pan, and like traditional way. And it was great, but we also learned about the struggles that we're facing and what was happening in Ecuador with the cacao industry. And that really, moved us, and we came back thinking, we can do something, Can we do something? And like you said earlier, what if, everything starts with, why not? Let's try it. So that was our first step into it. So we started looking, okay, what can we do with this community? And initially we thought of just buying their beans and kind of being able to sell them on just the beans,
To chocolate makers around Europe.
Okay, so did it start as kind of like a raise support for that community then?
Yeah, so we wanted to
as
buy
opposed to like a self-interest.
Yes. We had, for us, the main important thing was how can we help the farmers? Because for a farmer, actually, they get between $40 to $60 per bag of cocoa beans. Okay. But the real price should be around $200. So we thought, okay, can we do something about it? Can we buy their cocoa beans at a really good price, at a fair price? But then what do we do with it? So we forgot about what to do with the beans. We thought, okay, let's just try and help this community, and then we'll bring the beans, we'll import them, and then we'll try and sell them. Yeah. So we didn't figure it out yet. We hadn't figured it out yet, but we knew that we could do something. So we then started looking at different ways of selling the cocoa beans, and then someone suggested, why don't you add value and just turn it into chocolate? So
and also we knew that Ecuadorian beans are quite special. They're very unique in their flavor, the characteristics, the flavor profile. So we thought, at the beginning you get an idea and you think, people are going to want this because it's special, it's good.
You build it and they will come.
They're ready for it. But then you realize, okay, what can we do to add value and how can we make this work? And it's all trial and error, and you kind of, you have a vision, you have an end goal, but you have to move around, Yeah,
there are many challenges along the way, but by staying so small from the beginning, we managed to minimize our losses. That meant that we can continue up to this day learning, and without having to invest millions of pounds in a chocolate factory, going to the bank and having that pressure to come up with the goods and try and sell. So it would have been too much to learn all the way from the beginning, from the start. But we kind of understood. We were very risk averse. So we thought, okay, why don't we take a baby steps from the beginning? And that meant that it gave us the time, and we bought ourselves time in terms of.
We knew that this was going to be a long-term project, and it wasn't just about the chocolate. It could have been anything else. It could have been rice, I don't know, an exotic fruit.
Use anything to support.
Yes, as long as we were supporting a community, we knew we had it in us to figure out what to do with that produce that they were farming or producing.
So for us, from the beginning, there was no rush to make money and grow really quickly and make it work as a business. We knew that there were going to be challenges and that we wanted this to be a long-term commitment, to the farmers. So that's made us go really slow. But it has allowed us to make errors without a massive impact on the business. As we learn, as we move forward, we can pivot without, we're going so slow that, we don't get hit as badly as if we, going so fast just off the cliff, that's it. So,
And of course, Cornwall is like the best place for that. Like even for me, I found that Cornwall is it's a nice place to grow yourself and take your time. And if you go to London, you're going to be eaten alive. In London, anyone gets eaten alive. Even when I jump off the train there, you see a lot of people running away and screaming, and here it's the next person I see is like 3 kilometers away from me in the town, It's fine, I have my own space, I can walk around, it's very interesting. But when me and my friend Ryan isn't here now, but he's doing a year in industry. We met you guys in Origin Coffee, and the story still stuck to my head on how you made the chocolate, because you weren't like Cadbury, you weren't like Kit Kat, you weren't like them. You had a mission, you had something behind the chocolate, which was helping these people in Ecuador. And I still remember today you were saying, Andre, that you made your own chocolate machine at home.
That's how we started.
You made your own chocolate machine, and you're making, I can't remember, 3 kilos of chocolate a day. Can you describe this machine, please? Because it's always stuck with me, this machine.
Did you make a tutorial for it as well? YouTube.
This machine that
we didn't.
Machines, you made your own machine.
We
started your own thing.
The thing is that, we...
Fascinating.
Financial resources are limited, so you have to allocate them to where they're needed the most. So we could buy this piece of equipment for, a lot of money. It was really expensive. And
thousands of pounds.
You could buy it slightly cheaper from the States, but then you'll have to pay input duty. So one day we thought, how difficult can this be? Let's try it. So we went and bought a lot of pipes,
PVC pipes and the stuff that we needed to build it. It was actually one part of the process of making chocolate. So after you roast the beans, you have to separate the husk, the actual shell from the nib. So this machine just works with gravity, basically. You just stick a hoover in one end, have some PVC pipes going around, and the nibs will fall into one bucket, and the husk will go into a different bucket.
In theory.
Yeah.
In theory.
After many tweaks and many changes.
Yeah, the first time we tried it, we're not very good at DIY. But I like playing with stuff. I'm a very practical person. So the vacuum creates a vortex, but I didn't know it had to be a circular bucket. So we used like a
square container,
rectangular one, and that exploded in our living room because of the suction was so
powerful,
strong that it just exploded. So yeah, it was just trial and error, playing with. Yes, we had some sort of guideline to what it had to do, and
there were some drawings online that we just looked at, and it's like, okay, we're gonna spend $20,000 on this machine, or can we build it ourselves? So yeah, we spent a couple of £100, and just it worked. We're still using it, so with many improvements, but yeah, it still works.
It's very good. It's actually really efficient. So it's fun,
How much kilos of cocoa can this normal one that you created out of your own time?
Yeah, it's not as fast as a big machine. Probably you can do 2 or 3 kilograms an hour. Compared to, it's not bad for us. It's great because
it's
we
what you need. The demand here is not that big.
Exactly. So at the moment we're so small that we don't need anything bigger than that. But compared to a piece of equipment that you buy online, these machines can do 100 kilos an hour. So
kilos an hour? Oh my God!
I was gonna say, we have no idea about what's
that's a
and
lot.
That's
what's
still
a good amount
small scale.
Yeah, that's still
so
artisans.
So like Moors or Cats, we did have the ones that have like produce like
tons,
millions an hour.
Per hour,
so that's crazy.
Yeah, the way they work is just unbelievable, and they're just too big for anyone.
Yeah.
So how do you sort your suppliers then from Ecuador? So is it like a monthly shipment of the cocoa beans, or do you collect them and produce there too, or how does the relationship with suppliers work?
So the main harvest is once a year. So we try and import whatever we get from our farmers.
Once a year.
Okay.
So Andres' sister lives in Ecuador, and she goes and visits the farmer directly, and she collects the beans because you don't harvest them all at the same time. So it's about 3 months period. It starts around October and it finishes
around February.
And the pots start to flower, and then
at different times. So you can't collect everything all at once. So what we do is, my sister knows these farmers. We know the farmers. We go face to face, talk to them, and then we just pay them cash, and then they give us the beans, one bag at a time. We keep them in safe, in hermetic bags to prevent any pests coming in or any aroma going out. And then once we have enough to do a small consignment shipment, then we just ship it by air, and it takes about a couple of days to ship from Ecuador to Heathrow, and then overnight, lorry would just bring it to our workshop in Penryn. So that's just done once a year, because cocoa beans will last a really long time if you look after them properly. So what we do is we just look after them with hermetic bags, grain pro bags, that we just keep them good.
And how long will they keep you basically in production until the next collection then?
Yeah, so once a year. I think so far has been great for us. A ton a year is more than enough for us so far. It depends if it picks up. I mean, if this podcast makes us really famous, then we'll probably need to buy probably 10 times more than that. So fingers crossed.
No, but like if you have you get, I don't know, 10 kilos of cocoa or whatever, how do you protect them? Like, I don't know, do you need a big farm here to protect them, or do you need employees to come and check on them every time?
No.
Do you need certain lights or something, or water?
No, everything, once the pod is harvested, it gets fermented and sun-dried. And then you have to be really careful that it doesn't get wet, because then it can develop mold and it will attract insects, and that's it. It's gone.
Yeah, no protein.
So because
no good.
No, it does really affect the flavor of chocolate, that sort of protein. But because we are in control of the whole process, from the farmers, how they look after the beans, to picking up the beans and importing it into the UK, we know that they're not going to get wet, because we use Grain Pro bags, which are like hermetic bags, so no moisture comes in, no pests.
Yeah.
And as soon as we get them here, we keep them in a bigger bag to keep humidity out. And
so that will keep the beans really dry, because they come in a very small, the small beans, basically, and they're dry. So our goal, our mission is just to keep them dry. They come between 6 to 7% moisture. They have 6 to 7% moisture content, which is needed. So we have to keep that moisture there. And that's why we use these grain pro bags, which is used widely used in the coffee industry, in the rice industry. It doesn't take that much space. 1 ton doesn't take much space in our workshop. Probably the size of this area here.
Okay.
To give you a bit of an idea, bigger warehouse in Europe where most of the cacao is shipped into, you would find a lot of moldy beans because they get wet in transit. They are mostly shipped in Haitian bags, so there are it's organic material, so it gets wet and it creates mold and other things in there.
It will
so
attract pests.
it is very common in the bulk chocolate to find pests and all sorts of things in the cacao.
So what they do, big chocolate companies, what they do is like, right, so we have moldy beans, so they just heavily roast the beans to homogenize the taste of cacao. And then they add a few things like vanilla extract and everything else to mask the really heavy roast or any off flavors that were attracted by the insects. So by not looking after the whole supply chain, and because it's so long, the supply chain, a lot of things can go wrong along the way.
And then it affects the flavor, and then what we know as chocolate, you know, that kind of milky vanilla, all these other ingredients in it, is not the real taste of chocolate. Chocolate is actually really delicate. It has more flavor compounds than wine, so you can imagine how rich and complex it is. But we don't get that from supermarket chocolate.
Yeah.
So we're missing out.
Yeah.
If I want to make chocolate tomorrow, can I get that? Can I make the same machine like yours? And
Yeah.
We'll show you.
Yeah.
I wish I had to make one.
No, but how long would it take for me to, like, if I want to make me and Alex started chocolate tomorrow or the next week, can we get chocolate to, like, can we make a bar for the next month or so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long would it take for the bar for us to eat? Like, how long would
But you
that
don't need to. You can just try.
It takes about a week from bean to bar. So you roast the bean.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it takes a week for
So
one batch.
we get the beans and we have to hand sort them because some of them would have twigs or some beans would be flat or they just won't make the cut. So we hand sort them, then we roast them, and that's where you develop the flavor profile. So that's where you kind of highlight the characteristics of the specific varieties of beans that you get. After that, you have to wait a day for it to cool down properly, and then you crush the beans, and then we use that invention, that machine that separates the
We know
husk.
our, yeah.
It's amazing, that machine. I love it. It's innovation, I swear, I know, because it's really interesting. You wouldn't see anyone trying to do such machines. Like machines, they'd be like, no, we'll try do it. Like, I don't know. It's very. If you see them in there, I don't know. I don't know what they call them, but like warehouses and stuff, you would feed them. Like buying a machine worth thousands of dollars or something, they wouldn't think about the simplicity. I think simplicity is key as well. Like, I don't know, I feel like sometimes it just gets to what you want to get to.
And you learned it all from the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The internet is a
Google.
Google is a very good friend.
It's very helpful, yeah.
It's the best partner.
Yeah.
And people, you know, we have contacted chocolate makers, and some of them have been very open and showed us around and told us, okay, you know, you do this. You know, at the beginning, I remember we visited a chocolate maker in London, really nice, and he said, your first batch is going to be awful. Somehow we ignored that, and when we made our first batch, we were very disappointed that it was very horrible.
And then we remember, of course.
But he said it was going to be awful. So, you know, you ask, and people, most of the time, people are willing to tell you how they've done things.
Yeah, people share information and then share
And you go and try and do it yourself and find out that it's really difficult.
It's really hard. I can tell you how chocolate is made.
Yeah.
But it takes time, it takes patience to practice and to get good at it. And it takes a lot of commitment to your vision.
Yeah. Did you
Yeah.
not get like any breakdowns? You're like, okay, this batch is terrible. I'm not gonna do this again. Why am I doing chocolate? Can I just go to doing, I don't know,
Quite-
anything else?
Quite often.
Cheese or
Quite
milk or
often,
something?
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
We do
Tomatoes,
get that.
Anything.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, it's easy to get distracted and to lose sight of the vision. But it's commitment. You know, the excitement wears off. You know, it will. You know, in anything you do, it'll be really exciting at the beginning. But if you do it repetitively, it will wear off. But it's that commitment, you know, it's almost like being faithful to what you said you believe in, and then you have to work at it. But there have been many times, but that's where our community comes in. You know, we go and see people and
recharge.
It just, yeah, you know, it does.
Or you go for a
encourage you.
swim in the
In a
cold.
really cold sea, and it just
it's
like,
yeah.
okay.
I feel like new again. Sometimes
Yeah.
most of the time it works. Yeah, you don't feel your hands, but yeah.
Or
And
your
brain
brain.
is like, whoa, fresh, super fresh. Yeah. It happens a lot. I think everyone that goes into business has to have that very, very clear, that there will be moments where you want to give up. But that's when you never make a decision when you're tired. It's not even where to put your tide, where to put your pain.
Yeah.
And then you stop. You take a break, not too long. And then you carry on.
We have this kind of picture that is like treading water, you know, like when you're about to drown, you just tread water and come down, and then you can start again. And it is applicable to businesses. Yeah.
Do you think, you started in chocolate, do you think you can go into, like, I don't know, gummy bears or something else, or, I don't know, anything that expands this vision of not just chocolate, or using your
Anything
chocolate?
that would take us closer to helping the community.
Yeah.
So, yes, it is chocolate, and we're passionate about chocolate because we've learned so much about flavor, and it's a very complex and interesting world. But anything that can get us to empowering these communities, to working with them, will do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay. And how about the challenges you faced at the beginning of the conception of the company compared to the challenges you face now? Are they very different, or are they very much similar kind of challenges?
Very different.
Very different, yeah.
Now it's about, okay, you know how to make chocolate. For example, for us now, it's how do you sell chocolate? That's a completely different game. New lessons and new challenges. So we go through different stages in our business. And first stage is like, can you start something? Can you polish the idea? Can you concentrate on one thing? And then you cancel out all the noise around it. And then there's, can you learn how to make one thing properly? And then you prove that to yourself. You keep that promise, and then you move on to the next one. How do you sell chocolate? And so yeah, the challenges change all the time.
Yeah.
They evolve.
Yeah.
Different shapes.
Would you think you've had a greatest challenge to overcome so far, like upon reflecting on when you started the company?
I think importing was probably our biggest challenge. How to import beans into the UK, because we are the exporters in Ecuador and we're the importers here.
Yeah.
And
so you do both ends of the supply chain.
Yeah, we didn't want to. There wasn't anyone to say. It was either that or we buy from a distributor in Europe, where a lot of things can go wrong, and then we didn't know how much the farmers were getting paid. So that was the biggest challenge: how to import the beans in such a small quantity. How many people we contacted, the companies that would be able to ship container loads, but not 1 ton at a time. They weren't actually interested. They weren't going to make any money by shipping such small quantities. So.
And that was key to the business. You know, if we couldn't import the beans, then we just couldn't carry on. So that was hard.
That was really hard. So many challenges.
Did you have to compromise for that? For example, like negotiate to ship larger loads, or negotiate to ship
the only
quantity?
compromise we had to is the price. So we had to pay up. So it wasn't really a compromise. It was kind of a shock to us how much we had to pay to be able to bring the small consignment by air. So when we realized that there was no way we could ship 1 ton at a time by sea.
Because unless we fill our own container, we wouldn't know what goes in the container with the beans, and they could get contaminated. So you could get fish in there, or a plastic that smells really strong, and then you have no control, because if they change ports, they change the loads, they transfer the containers, then you have no control over it. So that was
No.
We couldn't go that way, so we had no option but.
When we realized that no one wanted to do, no one could guarantee that our beans will go with something that wasn't gonna damage the beans during the route. Then we realized, oh my God, this is gonna cost us a lot of money to ship it by air. So
that's why we had to, I guess the compromise was the equipment, you know. We had to spend more hours
manual
processing
labor,
the
yeah.
chocolate to compensate for that, the amount of money that had gone into the actual shipment.
Okay.
And do the farmers as well, like, I know you care about the farmers, do the farmers know, like, when you sell a lot of chocolate, do they know that, oh yes, our cocoa is being sold and people are happy with this cocoa, or are they just like...
We try to keep them in the loop.
So they can be happy about it. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of farmers are very happy when they know that their product or produce is going out and they're very fascinated.
Yeah.
Our farmer, our main farmer, Julian and Julia, they're a couple. She's very proud, you know, and she knows that the cacao that they produce is a fine quality. And we went to Ecuador this time last year, and we went to visit them, and we took the bars for the first time. It's very nice to show them what we do, but it's so nice to see that they kind of know, they own, like, like, of course it's going to be great, because, you know, we did it the best way, and we made sure when you told us to ferment it this way, we took care, and it's great because, you know, the younger kids, their grandchildren see that there is a future and they would want to stay farming, and they see, okay, actually, you know, the end product, it's nice. And then we have like the postcards with our farmer in them. We showed her and she's like, I'm famous, you know, like, oh, people know about me. And it's great, yeah. It's really good to see that. Yeah.
Okay.
So I had another question. Sorry, Alex, you have something to say?
I was just going to ask about the initial range of products.
Okay.
So was it more of a concentration to get one product right at the start, or did you want to branch out and sell a range of different products?
We had to learn one thing.
It was
we had to learn many things. So we kept each aspect simple. So we wanted to make the best dark chocolate we could possibly make with the beans that we had. So we have a selection of 6 bars, which are all it's just different percentages, and 3 of them have natural inclusions, but the base is pretty much the same and the process is the same. From the very beginning, we had loads of ideas, you know, gifting, doing really exotic flavors, but, you know, committing to one thing and making it work first, like step by step. Remember, we're very risk averse. Yeah. So, okay, we're going to make this, we're going to do it well, we're going to try.
So we kept that very simple. So 6 different bars, 3 with no inclusions and 3 with inclusions. So the same 60% that we have here for you guys to try, we just decided, okay, can we make the same 3 with inclusions, natural inclusions? So we buy red skin peanuts and we roast them, we crush them, and we just add it to the chocolate when we're tempering. For the other one, it's ground cinnamon. So it's very simple. When we're tempering, we just add a little bit of cinnamon. And for the other one is brandy. So we add a little bit of brandy flavored oil. Oh, we should have put a brandy there. Yeah. So we kept it simple. The main part was the same for 4 bars, but we just tried to make it a little bit different for the customers to enjoy. And for me, because it was peanuts, we love peanuts in Ecuador. So I grew up eating a chocolate bar with peanuts.
Peanuts is a staple food in Ecuador.
Yeah, so we love peanuts. So we wanted to make that, recreate that, but in the simplest and most natural way possible. And was just by adding peanuts right at the end when we're molding the bars. So that was like 4 bars that are pretty much the same, but with just slightly different inclusions. And then 2 other that are kind of dark, a 72 and an 80%. And then until recently, we decided to come up with a different line.
Which we had in mind from the very beginning. So when we started looking at packaging and flavors, because the peanuts and the cinnamon one, like in Colombia, we drink hot chocolate with cinnamon. So in a way, we wanted the whole brand to showcase like our culture and where the beans are coming from and champion it. But we had this other line which we thought it would be so cool, it's so playful to go alongside it. But we waited, it's been 2 years.
2.5 years.
Yeah.
To launch this new,
Wow.
because it means more packaging, committing to really large print runs and new molds. So, and playing with flavors, now we feel more confident in terms of, okay, how can we learn about what goes with what in terms of this one here, it has a little bit of a peppermint oil. So, yeah.
We know a little bit more about chocolate now
Yeah,
than we
so
did at the
we feel
beginning.
a little bit more comfortable
So
playing
even
with
though we
chocolate.
have like our range, it's same beans,
Same process.
and very similar, you would think. We've learned to highlight the differences. For example, if you roast slightly longer, or if you do a particular roast, it would be more nutty and it would highlight different flavor notes in the chocolate. So we've learned to, okay, we do it this way for the peanut one, so it's completely different to the cinnamon one.
And we're launching this new range in about a week's time.
Really?
So we brought one of them. So we're bringing out 3 new ones, and this is one of the 3. And yeah, if you want to try it, please open it and be my guest.
I'll go for the mint chocolate.
Wow.
Let's give it a little taste.
But can we do something first? So we got some jelly beans, and we would like you to have one, try one, but don't eat it just yet.
Yeah, just pick
take
one.
one.
I'll go for this little pink one.
And we just wanted to show you the flavor, you know, like how to taste chocolate. So what we think we taste with our mouths, we actually do with our nose. So 95% of what taste is smell, really. And that's very important when you taste in chocolate. So you really engage all of your senses, and then you can really get those notes that we're talking about, you know, like, oh yeah, these varieties, so special,
this
what
will
is
help
it?
us.
Yeah.
This will help us. So when we put the jelly bean in our mouth, we're going to nip our nose, and we're going to let it melt. We're going to chew it, and then
But keep your nose,
nip it. So, and
Sure
then
thing.
but do breathe.
through your mouth. So you'll have some flavor there, but hardly any flavor. You probably just taste sugar, because our tongues can identify 5 main flavors, and one of them is sugar. But your nose can identify many, many more flavors. So when you're ready, more flavors now.
Then you taste everything.
It's like a shock.
So it's done with the back of your throat. That's the main part of tasting. So we did that so we can identify some of the flavors that are supposed to be in chocolate, but not, obviously not supermarket chocolate.
So what we tend to do when we buy chocolate, you know, we just chew it and munch it, just swallow it.
Yeah.
But cacao butter, which is the natural oil in the bean, melts at body temperature and is what carries most of the flavor. So the correct way of tasting chocolate is you can bite it once or twice, but then you let it melt in your mouth.
Until the butter, the natural cacao
Starts
butter.
releasing all those flavors, and then you savor it. You know, you taste it.
So you want to give it a go with the chocolate, with the real thing now?
Let's give it a go. Let's sample some chocolate live. I don't know how to do this best. It's very fancy. It's very good. I'll give you that bit. Split that as well. So should we hold our nose as well for this?
You
or-
can if you want.
Nip your nose,
Little
and then,
experiment.
Yeah, and then just let it melt, and then when you release your nose, then you're gonna inhale and then exhale, and then you'll be able to taste many more flavors.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a refreshing there. There's gonna be some fruitiness from the cacao, and that refreshing flavor comes from the peppermint, but the fruitiness may be a berry or a cherry note.
It's sweet. That's the fruit, I take it. Wow.
But I love the design of the chocolate itself. It has the same packaging.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes from the pattern from Automotive.
I mean, I doubt the camera would pick it up, but it's pretty unique.
Yeah, it's custom made. So yeah.
Yeah.
Another question about the packaging really interests me very much. It's not the same chocolate bar you see. Like most of the chocolate bars or anything you see, it's very too much words on it. It's too much. I don't know. This is just very appealing to the eye. Like I like the gold. I like the chocolate bar. It sounds interesting. What made you go to this? Like I bet it took a long time to get to this packaging.
Yeah, it took us a few months.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted the packaging to say the origin, but in an artistic way, in a more minimalist and artistic way. So these motifs are Inca patterns found in the textiles in Ecuador.
Really?
So we started playing with, how can we say Ecuador and the Andes and bring that culture into our packaging.
Without putting someone who is an indigenous person in front of the bar. So we wanted to be a little bit more creative about it. So this says Ecuador, this says Inca, without really saying it.
Really?
Okay.
And then we wanted it to be, you want to pick it up. We didn't want to put the percentage or a lot of information at the front. We wanted people to interact with the bar. So what is this? You pick it up, it's interesting, and then you read about it.
Oh, the history.
A little bit about what we do, and then the rest of information that has to go in the packaging. It took us a while.
Yeah, it took us about 6 months to finish it.
And do you think that a very controversial topic these days, veganism and all this, do you think you're going to do something for the vegan people? Or
This is
our chocolate is vegan.
Really? So people can eat this?
People that are vegan can eat it.
It is vegan because we only use 2 ingredients in our chocolate. So it's cocoa beans and unrefined cane sugar.
So a lot of vegans can have chocolate.
Yeah.
And good
Enjoy
chocolate.
it.
Yeah. Do you want to try the other one?
I'll open this one. Sure. So when it comes to sourcing this kind of packaging, is this packaging that you create yourself, or do you have this designed either locally in England or in a different country, and it just gets imported down and you kind of then put the product in yourself?
No, everything starts from scratch for us.
Okay.
She designed the packaging, she designed the measurements, everything, how it would look like. She designed how the bar would look like. So we created
Designed the molds as well, then?
The molds were designed by her, and then they were made by a company in
Looks
Cornwall.
like a picture frame.
Looks perfect.
So
It looks like
shiny.
perfect.
I don't want to break it,
And
but I'm
then,
going to.
so we started with the mold, and then
So we started with the mold. So we had the shape of the chocolate first
that we wanted,
before doing the packaging, and then
I'm fine, you can go next.
we-
Try it.
So I used to play with like cutting out old books and trying to figure out how it would fit together and how to maximize the space for the writing at the back.
it took a while for her to design it, and then
Chocolate.
thank you. And then we found a printer that was willing to work with us in Red Ruth, not too far from here. So the mold was made probably about an hour away from here.
Weybridge.
In Weybridge, and then the packaging was made about 20 minutes from here, 15 minutes from here.
So everything is Cornwall based.
Yeah, because it's
Ecuador and Cornwall.
yeah.
I mean, the only thing that comes from Ecuador really is the beans. And
Yeah, because at the Eden Project they don't produce enough. So.
But the vision comes from Ecuador, which is important. That's the important part. Right?
Yeah, we had
I
to
like
connect. We had to connect it. We
Story.
wanted to connect the two. Yeah,
And we've lived here, we feel part of,
the community here.
and the UK is home for us now. We've lived here for many years, so we wanted to bring the 2 cultures together, bring the best of Ecuador, but be able to serve our community and the consumers here in the UK with the best possible chocolate.
We hope you enjoy that.
We should try it.
Definitely.
Testing it with students. Students would love this. At the university here, I think it's very cool. Even a coffee downstairs or in the shop or something, it might be. People like to have, because people like snacks between classes and stuff. This chocolate would be very energy, especially because when you have a lot of people in the library studying, chocolate gives you a lot of energy. So people want to take chocolate. It's fascinating.
Chocolate is actually really good for you.
Yeah.
Really.
Most people think chocolate's unhealthy. We have, our culture things, if you eat a lot of chocolate, you put on weight, or if you give chocolate to your kids, they'll go really hyper. But if you keep things natural and with really good quality ingredients, it's actually really good for you. It's really good for your heart, for your brain. It makes you feel happy because, chocolate does that. Yeah, it makes you feel in love, which is good too, right? Gives you a good feeling. So it's good. It's good for you.
Yeah, a lot of people give people chocolates when they feel like if they made them sad or something, they give them some chocolate.
Yeah, cheer them up.
Valentine's Day, they give them chocolate. It's the easiest gift for anyone. They just give them chocolate. They're very happy. No one rejects chocolate.
Chocolate.
No, they might reject flowers. They might reject other things, but chocolate is chocolate.
Yeah, chocolate's
Chocolate's beautiful.
Yeah.
Would you ever consider going into more kind of festive markets? Say, for example, Easter, producing an Easter egg out of this kind of chocolate. Or, for example, at Christmas, making, I don't know, a chocolate orange or a chocolate Santa.
Or a rabbit.
Using this kind of chocolate. Or a rabbit. Or a reindeer.
Yes, but then again, packaging. It's a long journey for us, so we do things.
Yeah, eventually, I think.
Yeah.
Couple of years time, yeah.
A couple of years time.
Time. Give us time.
Yeah, just
And
give us time. We'll be there.
I take it it's all plastic free as
Yeah,
well. Sort of thing.
plastic free.
Yeah.
So
Sustainable.
Yeah, we didn't really start with that vision of being vegan or being plastic free. For us, it just comes natural. I
Yeah.
think because like, why did
Yeah.
we want to put plastic in there? No, there was no need to put any plastic. Plastic just keeps products longer in the shelves, but we didn't have that problem.
no, and well, as you said, because it's natural and preserved in these special bags, it kind of has its own extended shelf life.
Yeah.
As a result. Okay. Would you ever consider, like, perhaps after processing the chocolate, even selling that to other companies to turn into their own kind of bars, that kind of partnership? So
Yeah.
you're getting from a supplier and then becoming a supplier yourself.
Good,
Well.
yeah, potentially there is nothing stopping us apart from the fact that we don't have the equipment to do that.
The machine is amazing. It's beautiful.
You can build your own then.
Build
Yeah.
your own. You can send this package of writing, write the instructions, give them to people.
Yes,
Here's
start
some
making
How
pipes.
to how to
Here are some
build your own.
pipes.
Yeah.
Go there and
Some
do it.
pipes.
Do it yourself chocolate maker.
your own chocolate kit.
Yeah, a lot of kids would be very happy. They're like, Mom, I did some chocolate. Too, you know?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And do you want to make, like, would you want to be, I don't know, like, would you want to go outside of England in the future?
Yeah, ideally, yeah.
Definitely.
Do you want to go into, like, I don't know, Spain, Belgium,
Italy,
I
France.
mean, Croatia?
Yeah.
Okay. How does this kind of company scale as well in terms of like employment growth? Is it very much so just a partnership with your partner suppliers as well, or do you see yourself actually employing a great workforce to help you build this kind of product?
Yeah, it probably has to. The bigger we grow, the more we grow, the more people will probably have to have alongside us.
Yeah.
Not just here, probably in Ecuador as well. We probably need more farmers to work with us who would love to would love to do that. So I think in Ecuador we'll have more farmers, more people collecting the pods and the beans, and in here we'll have more people making the actual chocolate or packaging it or selling it. So yeah, there is a lot of potential for us to have more people working with us, but at the moment it's just us. More
We
than
have
one.
to sell a lot of chocolate first and learn to sell. You know,
Yeah.
you start a business and there's so many things that you have to learn.
Yeah.
It's not just the making of a product.
That's right.
You know, it's the marketing, it's everything
Yeah.
else. Yeah. So
But I think something like this, like I was thinking as well, because I'm thinking about other products, like especially in the cricket industry, I'm trying to do stuff like that. I think it's maybe if you guys use maybe social media and stuff like influencers or students or whatever people, when you see them like, oh, look at this, I'm using this chocolate or I'm eating this, people are fascinated to try something new, especially
Yeah.
if it's a new product or it's a new, especially here, this thing I found in Falmouth, which is very interesting compared to London. London, you don't know, everything changes quickly.
Yeah.
Here, if something changes, wow, it's amazing. And like if one shop closes, one shop, it's like amazing. So like when Deliveroo, they opened Deliveroo here one day, it was fascinating, it was mind-blowing. Same thing with the
Yeah.
shops here, they opened a burger place recently, like 3-4 months ago. It was,
Yeah.
wow, there's a new
Yeah,
burger
yeah,
place.
yeah.
It's when it happens in London, it's nothing. It's
Yeah.
okay, it's just a burger place with here, you know?
yeah.
But I feel like, yeah, social media puts an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Great tool.
Yeah.
It's a great
We're
tool.
learning to use it.
it's fun games, I don't know, like it's beautiful to try it out.
And have you considered doing things like pop-up booths where you sell products? Because a retail store is probably ambitious
Yeah.
at this point, but with, say, a pop-up booth, you can at least have a little shelter for the two of you and maybe 50 to 100 bars and just see how well it sells in kind of the market.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. We did briefly look into it. We really don't know how that would work, and, what we would need to do to. But yeah, that could to test the market as well.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
like as Alex was saying, especially like doing maybe like in the freshers time in the unis as well.
Oh my God, people
Especially
be all over it.
If you have like it's just small stand, or even like in the Falmouth Rugby Club, where sometimes they have like stuff like I don't know, just some stands of different food
Yeah.
places. It's interesting to have samples around,
Yeah.
especially if it's a new product, like you're saying, this new product's coming out, trying samples and stuff, because
Yeah,
people trying it out. Chocolate is
definitely.
fun.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Have you got any kind of plans for growth, or like not necessarily expansion, but have you got any more plans alongside releasing new flavors and products in terms of like how you're going to get it out there?
Not a concise plan, no.
No.
We have ideas that are very, at the moment, very abstract. And yeah, I think we probably need a lot more help from someone from the outside with a lot more experience, an expert to give us a. I think we kind of ready for the next step in the business, in our journey. So yeah, we don't have a plan, but yeah, we'll need one very soon.
Well, you can just be like a go as it goes, like see where it goes, take it step by step.
Yeah.
No rush. That's what the best thing about Cornwall is.
Yeah.
Nothing need to rush about.
It's not a fast-paced environment.
Definitely.
Yeah, no.
No, because you have your time to relax and enjoy the time in Cornwall.
Yeah.
And especially if you're opening something new, not just chocolate, but any other business, it takes your time, even if it doesn't. Like small businesses will try out different things.
Yeah.
Might work, it might not, and then you can expand that to Plymouth, Bristol, and it goes well.
Yeah.
Then it go to London.
Yeah. Slowly, yeah.
I mean, the point is to thrive, not just to grow. I think continuous growth is unsustainable. So we want to take steps that are solid, you know, and it takes us a long time because we have to learn how to do marketing, how to, you know, approach shops and people to sell our chocolate. But we want to go slowly and
Yeah.
Baby steps.
yeah.
Baby
Yeah.
steps.
But it's worked so far. It's going to continue to work, I imagine.
We hope so.
I have just a last question to ask. Do you think, do you also check like reviews on like where you're online, on your website and stuff like that, or do you not just like go to the shop and ask like the cashier how much have you sold this week?
Yeah, we try and get as much feedback
because
as
it's
possible.
helpful to know, like
it
if
gives
maybe
us
this type of chocolate might not succeed compared to this one,
Yeah.
or this one's better, so I can produce more of this. And,
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
do.
always look for feedback, and people are happy to share their feedback with us, and it's helped us a lot.
Yeah.
Have you actually altered products based on like feedback so far? So if someone said, "Oh, this is a bit too bitter for me," and maybe just put a little bit more cinnamon in, or
No, we can't do that because of the packaging. We've already printed loads of packaging in terms of print runs, but what we did is actually tried a lot of different flavors before we launched the smaller range that we're launching next week, the week after. So we got really good feedback in the mint and on the coffee, but we didn't plan to launch it, but we're just getting feedback. So even though we hadn't launched it, we were actually asking for feedback, and then that made us more sure that that's the one that we need to launch.
Yeah. Doing the research before,
First,
So, you know, we'll do tasting events or at the shops where we are stocked. You know, we'll have a tasting day and get the feedback from people.
Yeah.
And that's how we decided on the flavors that came out.
yeah. Like you said, it's a very kind of premium chocolate as well compared to a supermarket kind of. This is more niche compared to the other chocolate, and you can get that in just the taste of it as well. Have you seen people be more critical of it as a result of that? Or?
We haven't experienced it personally, like we haven't seen it face to face.
Some people would say they wouldn't try it because it's too. They have this idea that dark chocolate is bitter and it's too much. That's, I think.
That's the most criticism that we've seen face to face.
Like, oh, I don't do dark chocolate. So some people venture into it and then you explain and you take them on a journey, but other people.
But regarding price, not so much. Flavor, maybe they're a little bit scared of the percentage, the high cacao percentage content.
But would you change the dark chocolate maybe and go into white chocolate, or do normal
maybe
milk chocolate?
Maybe in the future. There is probably no need because we're more passionate about keeping it very, very simple. Yeah. So the moment we start playing with milk will overpower the flavor of the cocoa bean, and we probably lose a little bit of what we want to showcase.
Yeah. And I guess you want to stay true to where you started.
Yeah.
As well. And then if it turned out that milk or white were to over succeed dark, it would be like, what's the point, I guess? Just want
It's
to
the
go back.
journey, it's not the destination, it's the journey. That's what they say, it's the journey that counts.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The journey that counts. But maybe, you don't know, maybe in 20 years we'll come back to Cornwall and we find the biggest chocolate manufacturer in the world. You never know, you know. It might not be Switzerland or France or the States or Ecuador. It might be just here in Cornwall and Falmouth.
You know
Imagine.
And
Just
have to
remember
come
us
back.
if that happens.
Of course.
Have to come
We'll
back
dig
to
up this
Falmouth.
video. Nah, man was right.
Come back to
I
Falmouth
said
20 years time, you know.
Yeah, that'd be pretty neat.
But that's great. Well, I think now we have to wrap it up.
Yeah, coming to about an end now.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
guys.
With the global chocolatiers, amazing people.
See you in 20 years.
See you in 20 years. And we're lucky to have them today. They took their
Thank you.
time to show us what their chocolate is, their new products, the Jelly Bean Challenge. Maybe we might see them in 20 years being the best chocolate makers in the world. We'll see. Hopefully, we wish that for us. But it's the story that counts, and that's what we heard today. They have a story, and that's what we cared about more than the chocolate. Thank you very much, and always look forward to eating their chocolate. It'll be around everywhere. Thank you very much for this episode. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for